welcome back. It's Ronnie. Today I'm gonna talk about my dad since I've already done one on my mom. I have no idea how to get this glare out of my glasses. I guess it's just the way I tilt my head. I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about my dad. My dad was born in June 1946, and he also grew up in the projects of Newark, New Jersey. He was born out of wedlock and was raised by my great-grandfather, my great-grandmother, and my aunt Dorothy. Now, as we go through this video, I'm going to refer to Dorothy as my grandmother because in the early 70s, my father's actual mother had come for a visit from California. She had run away, remarried, married some guy, and they had other children. But because of this encounter we had, it was just me and my first sister, Victoria, that we were told by my mother, and I remember it till this day, no, don't call her Aunt Dottie anymore, you call her Grandma. And she's always been the most important person in my life. I've loved that woman from day one. She's a phenomenal woman. Anyway, so my dad was raised similar to my mom. They were poor. My great-grandfather drank many times. My father was sent down the street to the bar to bring Pops home. And Pops was a skinny guy. I mean, he ate like a wild man, but he remained like a stick his entire life, which is pretty cool. I never ever met Nana. I do remember meeting Pop. Pop was a grouchy old man by the time I knew him. But anyway, my grandmother, she wound up marrying a man when I was about 2 years old. And he had written and asked my dad permission in order for him to marry her. Now, my grandma did the best she could. She was a single woman taking care of her mom and dad and a little kid. But she was a good woman, and I love my grandma to death. I mean, she died at 85, and I was 7 months pregnant with my son, and it was devastating. I miss her greatly. Anyway, my dad went to a Votech high school where he learned to be an electrician. He knew how to work on cars. He'd done that from the beginning. Whoever would help him learn how to take something apart and put it back together, he loved it. So when he joined the Marine Corps, he went into Motor T, and he was far advanced for a new recruit, as would do. Aced Motor T school and eventually went over to Vietnam. Now, while he was in Vietnam, before he left, my mother was pregnant. My mother had a stillborn, my brother Peter, who was named for Pop. And my grandfather did everything he could this side of heaven, pulled strings, got my father home so that he could console my mother, who was nearly inconsolable. He then had to extend his time in Vietnam by 6 months, but that was fine because as long as he could get home to her. Anyway, he eventually succumbed to post-traumatic stress disorder, and he's an alcoholic. Now, my father drank my entire life. I can't remember him not drinking. Heck, I remember as a little kid being able to make a scotch and water for him that he absolutely thought I was the best bartender in the world. Anyway, he was a good man. He had his faults like everyone else. I love him to death. He doesn't approve of me. His favorite always seemed to be my sister Victoria, and that's fine. We all have our favorites, I guess. He did things with us. We camped. Let me tell you something. My dad had 3 daughters, and he treated us like 3 sons. There's nothing that his daughters can't do. As a matter of fact, growing up, and he did construction, but he was also became a New York State corrections officer. And even though he hated that job, absolutely hated it, because, these prisoners were getting something that he was struggling for. He worked 2 jobs. I mean, he would work the midnight shift, and as soon as he got off, he'd change clothes, jump in his truck, and go to a construction site, work all day, come home about 6, 7 at night, go to sleep for 4 hours, and start again. He was a good, hard-working man. But just like my mother, he was a victim of the circumstances that he lived. And there were many times that my mother pitted my father against me, and I got beaten for it. And I was responsible for my sisters growing up because both my parents worked. My father put a lot of pressure on us. But like I said, he treated us like we were 3 boys. So we camped, we hiked, we did all the things. Cut firewood, put firewood on the porch. Anything that my father needed a son to do, we did. I felt so detached from them that I joined the Marine Corps to figure out what this brotherhood my father was so proud of, what they were about. And it still didn't seem to matter. My father can only tell you that he loves you when he's really, really drunk. And that hurt. I still compete, I guess you would say. He doesn't, because of my disabilities, he constantly says, oh, you should have done this and you should have done that. But woulda, shoulda, coulda, I couldn't, and he doesn't seem to understand. And he lives with pain every day of his life, the same as I do. And I think he thinks we share that pain, and we don't, because what one person can endure, another can't, and that's something that he and I have always fought with. Several years ago, my boyfriend had called him and said, hey, I know you and Ronnie aren't getting along, but bury the hatchet. I want you and Rita to come for Christmas. Bury the hatchet, apologize, come for Christmas, and let's just celebrate the holiday. And my father proceeded to tell him everything he thought of me. How much I disappointed him in life, and how not even my 2 sisters like me because of my bullheadedness and arrogance, and how I don't depend on him for anything, and I've always thought I was too good for everybody, and I was laid low. My boyfriend always put things on speakerphone, and so I got to hear every nasty thing he thought about me. And he hurt me. I forgave him, since that's what good daughters do. I have to tell you that, yeah, it hurt. I still talk to him. I still tell him I love him. Still give him a hug. But I know where I stand. And that's hurtful and hard. And my mother keeps telling me, oh, he loves you, Ronnie. He does. And I'm like, Mom, he told us how he felt about me. You weren't there. He was in the other room. You weren't there. Because of his drinking, he mixes things up. But you know what? I still love him. And I'll always love him. He's my dad. I don't want to hear any harsh comments, because we all walk our own path. And whether I've disappointed him, hurt him, whatever the case may be, he's still my dad, I'm still his daughter, and that's all that matters. And they're retired. He's 72, almost 73 years old. I haven't got much longer with him. So, I'm still gonna love him. I'm still gonna be his daughter. It's not easy. He's had a hard life. There's been a lot of things that have caused him pain. And that's all I'm going to talk about him. I'll see you in the next video.